German Gref, the influential CEO of Sberbank and Russia's former economy minister, has sounded an alarm that is reverberating through the country's financial and political circles. In a candid and unusually direct statement, Gref warns that Russia's economy is not just slowing down, it is stagnating, with the real risk of slipping into a recession looming ever larger. His words carry significant weight, given his deep experience at the helm of Russia's largest bank and his previous role shaping national economic policy. Across the country, signs of economic distress are becoming harder to ignore. Factories that once hummed with activity now stand silent, machinery sits idle, and storefronts in major cities are shuttered. Office spaces that were once bustling with workers are now eerily empty, painting a stark picture of the challenges facing Russian businesses and workers alike. Gref's statement directly challenges the official government narrative, which has insisted that Russia's economy remains resilient in the face of global pressures and sanctions. Instead, he points to a troubling reality. High interest rates intended to curb inflation are in fact stifling economic activity and making it increasingly difficult for businesses to survive and grow. The financial strain is evident in the worried faces of business leaders and the mounting pressure on the ruble. According to Gref, the central bank's aggressive monetary policy, meant to keep inflation in check, has now become a double-edged sword. While inflation remains a concern, the cost of borrowing has soared, investment has slowed, and consumer demand is weakening. Gref argues that the cure is now threatening to become worse than the disease, as businesses struggle to access affordable credit and ordinary Russians feel the pinch in their daily lives. This intervention from one of Russia's most respected financial leaders signals a growing sense of unease among the country's business elite. Many now believe that the recent uptick in economic activity was merely a temporary surge, driven by short-term factors such as increased government spending and a rush to adapt to sanctions. Without deeper reforms and a shift in policy, they fear that this momentum will quickly fade, leaving the economy vulnerable to a prolonged downturn. Gref frames this moment as a critical inflection point for Russia. The country stands at a crossroads. It can either continue down its current path, risking a slide into recession and long-term stagnation, or it can take bold, decisive action to stimulate growth and restore confidence. The choices made now, he suggests, will shape Russia's economic trajectory for years to come. The path forward will not be easy. It will require innovative thinking, courageous leadership, and a willingness to break from old habits. But Gref believes that with the right policies, focused on investment, innovation, and supporting entrepreneurs, Russia can reignite growth and build a more resilient economy for the future. The debate is no longer theoretical. Russia's economic future truly hangs in the balance. The decisions made in the coming months will determine whether the country can overcome its current challenges or face a period of prolonged uncertainty and hardship. Gref's use of technical stagnation describes a period where Russia's economy has flatlined with growth hovering near zero. Sberbank's internal data shows the slowdown is not just historical, but ongoing, with July and August 2025 nearly at a standstill. Stagnation means businesses aren't expanding, jobs aren't being created, and consumer spending is weakening. For a country under sanctions, this lack of momentum is especially alarming. The initial resilience may have masked deeper problems now coming to the surface. Gref's diagnosis directly contradicts optimistic government reports, offering a ground-level view based on hard numbers. The warning is clear: without swift action, recession is the next step. Russia's central bank, under the steady leadership of Elvira Nabiullina, has become the nation's most critical economic institution in recent years. As the country faces mounting financial pressures, the central bank's decisions are shaping the future of millions of Russians. Nabiullina, known for her calm demeanor and sharp economic mind, has been thrust into the spotlight as she navigates a landscape fraught with uncertainty and risk. In late 2024, the central bank made a bold and controversial move. It raised interest rates to a staggering 21%. This drastic hike was a direct response to soaring inflation, which had been fueled by unprecedented levels of military spending and the resulting budget deficits. The goal was clear: stabilize the ruble and prevent runaway price increases that could devastate ordinary Russians. While this aggressive policy did help to slow inflation, it came at a steep cost. Borrowing money became nearly impossible for many businesses and families, as the high rates made loans unaffordable. Across the country, entrepreneurs put expansion plans on hold, and some companies were forced to close their doors. The economy, already under strain, began to slow even further. Although the central bank has since reduced the rate to 18%, it remains one of the highest in the world. For comparison, most major economies have kept their rates in the single digits, making Russia's financial environment uniquely challenging. This has put additional pressure on Russian banks, businesses, and consumers, who are all struggling to adapt. Business leaders across Russia have voiced their frustration, arguing that these sky-high rates are a major barrier to economic recovery. Many warn that unless borrowing becomes more affordable, investment will dry up and job creation will stall, deepening the country's economic woes. The central bank now faces a nearly impossible balancing act. On one hand, it must keep inflation in check to protect the value of the ruble and the savings of ordinary citizens. On the other, it risks strangling economic growth and pushing the country into a deeper recession if rates remain too high for too long. This fundamental conflict between fighting inflation and supporting growth has become the central dilemma of Russia's economic policy. Every decision the central bank makes is now watched closely, not just by economists, but by the entire nation. The very policy designed to stabilize prices and protect the economy is now threatening its future. Ordinary Russians feel the impact every day, from rising prices at the grocery store to shrinking job opportunities and uncertain financial prospects. As journalists and analysts gather outside the central bank, speculation is rampant about what Nabiullina and her team will do next. The world is watching, and the pressure on the central bank has never been greater. With so much at stake, the central bank's next move could determine not just the fate of Russia's economy, but the well-being of its people for years to come. Gref's call for lower rates is echoed by a growing number of business leaders and officials. He argues that even a cut to 14% won't revive the economy. Rates must fall to 12% or lower to spark real growth. This is a direct challenge to the central bank's cautious approach. The upcoming rate-setting meeting is now a focal point for Russia's economic future. The debate has shifted from just fighting inflation to ensuring economic survival. Gref's bold stance amplifies the voices demanding urgent action. The pressure on the central bank has never been greater. The government is now acknowledging the slowdown, with Finance Minister Siluanov slashing the 2025 growth forecast from 2.5% to 1.5%. High interest rates are blamed for stifling investment and cooling the economy faster than expected. Economy Minister Reshaping admits the downturn is more severe than government models predicted. These admissions align the government with Gref's warnings, making the problem undeniable. The risk of recession is now openly discussed at the highest levels. The government's own officials are pressuring the central bank to act. The central bank's isolation is growing. The economic reality can no longer be ignored. Russia's recent growth was fueled by massive wartime spending, not by a healthy, balanced economy. Military outlays created jobs and boosted GDP, but this stimulus was artificial and unsustainable. Resources were diverted from civilian sectors, creating a lopsided economy dependent on government contracts. Now high inflation and interest rates are the price for that boom. The stimulus effect has run its course, and the economy can no longer rely on state spending. Private investment and consumer demand are needed, but both are being crushed by borrowing costs. The period of surprising growth is over, exposing the economy's fragile foundations. The challenge ahead is daunting. High interest rates act as a heavy weight on the economy, making loans too expensive for businesses and consumers alike. Investment dries up, businesses postpone projects, and job creation stalls. Small businesses and families are hit hard. Mortgages and car loans become unaffordable. Consumer spending drops, triggering a vicious cycle of declining sales and production. The result is stagnation, as both business and consumer confidence erode. The central bank's tool to fight inflation is now freezing economic activity. Russia is trapped. Stability comes at the cost of growth. The longer this continues, the harder recovery will be. The economy is at a breaking point. Economic anxieties have reached President Putin, who is privately alarmed by falling investment and the unsustainable reliance on military spending. He knows Russia needs a modern, diversified economy, but high rates are blocking private sector growth. Putin faces a dilemma: maintain stability with tough monetary policy or risk inflation by cutting rates to spur growth. Influential voices in government and business are urging a policy shift. The debate within the Kremlin is intensifying, with the future direction of Russia's economy hanging in the balance. The next move could reshape the nation's economic trajectory. On September 4, 2025, Russia finds itself at a pivotal crossroads, facing a decision that could shape the nation's economic destiny for years to come. The country's leaders are grappling with a stark dilemma. Should they maintain high interest rates, risking a prolonged period of stagnation and economic hardship, or should they take the bold step of cutting rates, hoping to spark a recovery but risking new dangers? The stakes have never been higher, and the world is watching closely. Russia's financial markets are tense, with investors and business leaders anxiously awaiting the government's next move. The uncertainty is palpable in boardrooms and on trading floors across the country. The wartime economic boom that once masked deeper problems has faded, revealing the underlying weaknesses of the Russian economy. Factories have closed, shelves in some stores are bare, and unemployment lines are growing longer. If the current policies remain unchanged, experts warn that stagnation will become the new normal. This means no new jobs, no wage growth, and a slow but steady erosion of hope for millions of ordinary Russians. For many, daily life is already a struggle. Living standards are slipping, families are tightening their budgets, and the dream of a better future seems to be slipping further out of reach. The alternative is to cut interest rates dramatically, a move that could reignite investment, encourage businesses to expand, and put more money in the hands of consumers. This path offers hope for renewed growth and prosperity, but such a move is not without risks. Lower rates could unleash a new wave of inflation, driving up prices for food, housing, and everyday goods, and potentially destabilizing the fragile economic recovery. The responsibility for this critical decision falls squarely on the shoulders of President Putin and Central Bank Governor Elvira Nabiullina. Their choice will determine the direction of the Russian economy at a time of immense pressure and uncertainty. Across the country, the pressure for change is mounting. Protesters demand action, journalists seek answers, and economic experts debate the best path forward as the crucial September 12th rate meeting approaches. Russia's economic leaders know that the current trajectory cannot continue forever. The choices they make now will have far-reaching consequences for businesses, families, and the nation as a whole. As the nation waits, the future of Russia hangs in the balance. The decision made in the coming days will shape not only the economy, but the lives and hopes of millions for years to come.